Good morning, fellow Commissioner members, staff members, and honored guests. Today is February the 26th, 2018, at approximately 9:31. I'm David Brown, your Commission Vice Chair. I will now call to order of the meeting of the Tennessee Private Investigation and Polygraph Commission. Turn it over to Cody Vest.
All right, thank you. We're going to do a roll call. But first of all, we need to say hello to our newest commission member, who is Douglas Shanks. Appreciate Mr. Shanks taking his time to serve on the commission. So I'm going to do a roll call. Stuart Bain.
Here.
David Brown.
Here.
Larry Flair.
Here.
Robin Brewer.
Here.
Rick Jones. Jerry Richards.
Here.
Alan Russo.
Here.
Walt Valentine.
Here.
Douglas Shanks.
Here.
Let the record show that Mr. Jones is not present, but you do have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item is the agenda for approval. I'd like to ask if each commissioner member has received and had time to review a copy of the agenda. And if so, is there a motion to adopt this agenda?
Doug Shanks makes a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Doug Shanks, second by Larry Flair. No, Alan Russo, I'm sorry. Apologize. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have our minutes for approval from the September 22nd, 2017 minutes. And these are minutes for both the Education Committee and the Commissioners' meeting. I'd like to ask if each Commissioner member has received and had time to review a copy of those minutes. And if so, is there a motion to adopt those minutes?
So made.
Motion by Commissioner Stuart Bain.
Second.
Commissioner Richards? Oh, no. Valentine. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. For the next item on the agenda, we're going to turn it over to Executive Director Cody Vest.
All right, the next thing on your agenda is election of officers. It's the first year of the new year. We do have a commission member absent. Mr. Jones is not present, so it's my duty to ask you if you want to go ahead and vote officers, or do you want to wait till our next meeting when we have a full commission?
I would recommend waiting till we have a full commission.
On the record that Mr. Bain has said we need to be okay to wait till the next. How does anybody else feel? Have any discussion, or what do you want?
I think it'd be fine to go ahead and elect.
I think so too.
officers.
I agree.
That's fine, too. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, okay, so
I move that we go ahead and have
Yes.
the election.
okay, you want to go ahead and do, okay, that's
Somebody
fine.
second.
I just wanted to make sure we had. All right, I do have a script if you allow me to read by it. Okay, well, I'm calling for nominations for the commission chair. Do we have any nominations? Who would
Yes,
you-
I'd like to nominate Walt Valentine.
All right, that is Mr. Valentine, and it was nominated by Mr. Richards. He was nominated Mr. Richards. Is there a second to the nomination? We already, all right. Who did the second?
Bain.
Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Brown.
Second.
Brown by Alan Russo. And who was the second?
Doug
Mr.
Shanks.
Shanks. Do you have any other nominations? Right. Let me get down to the part here where I need to tell you what we're going to do next. All right. At this time, we'll call for a vote for the commission chair. Since we do have two individuals, the last time I did one of these, we did this as a private vote where you have a pad in front of you. If that's what, that's the way I would prefer to do that. So please, we have Walt Valentine, who's been nominated, and Mr. Brown, David Brown's been nominated. We have a vote for Walt Valentine. Walt Valentine. Mr. Brown. David Brown. David Brown. David Brown. Walt Valentine. And Walt Valentine.
Split.
And why did y'all make me go off script? It doesn't tell me what to do.
Arm wrestle.
Okay, we can hold.
But if it's going to split
If it, we can have another vote, or if it's going to split again, we may have to wait till we have another commission member, which makes it, 9 members.
Let me go ahead and let Walt be the chairman.
You want to remove your name from the nominations?
I would have to.
Mr. Russo, since you did the nomination, you would have to remove it.
I move to withdraw my
Nomination for David Brown as commission chair. All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Who did the second? All right, Mr. Shanks, thank you. All right, so now we're back to Walt Valentine was nominated. Since there's no other individual that has been nominated, do I have a vote for election by acclamation for Walt Valentine?
I so move.
All right, the motion was made by Alan Russo, seconded by... Mr. Bain, second that?
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
Then the vote is going to cease, and we have a new chair, and that is Walt Valentine. Congratulations, Mr. Valentine. You're now the chair for the Private Investigation and Polygraph Commission, which is no stranger to you, because you was North Carolina, wasn't it, Chair?
Indiana.
Indiana, excuse me. I knew it was up north. All right. Now we need to vote for a vice chair.
I move Mr. Commissioner Brown as vice chair.
Second.
We have a nomination for David Brown as vice chair. Now, who was that?
Second.
No, you did the second. Who did the vote? Alan Russo? Okay. And then Mr. Bain did the second. Do we have any other nominations? All right, since there are no other nominations, we will call for a vote of acclamation. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion, Madam Chairman.
Claire, thank you. Second.
Second.
Ms. Brewer has seconded the nomination. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The motion has carried. The election has ceased. Congratulations, Mr. Brown. You are now the vice chair,
Good.
which I think you already are the vice chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I maintain my seat.
I think you need to just move just a little bit.
I was gonna
Now it's
ask.
Mr. Valentine.
With pleasure.
I would, under the circumstances, Mr. Shanks, would you mind moving over just a little bit? Let Mr. Brown sit in your chair, and then Walt will take your chair. Don't make a big deal of this.
You did make a big deal of it.
There we go.
And no donuts.
They're looking. Let's give them a show. All right, we need just to move these little name tags just a tad. See, this is a test, gentlemen.
It's complicated.
Yes, it is. Well, congratulations to both gentlemen. Walt Valentine is now the chair of the Private Investigation and Polygraph Commission, and David Brown is your vice chair of the Private Investigation and Polygraph Commission. Congratulations, gentlemen. Paper here. The next thing I think we need to do, Mr. Chairman, is a Robert Rules of Order. There is a new Robert Rules of Order has changed a little bit. We used to say that we would change it so the chair could vote. Now it is Robert Rules of Order that says the chairman may vote. We need for you to elect Robert Rules of Order.
I move that we accept the Robert Rules of Order.
Second. Commissioner Brent.
Alan Russo did the motion. David Brown made the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Now we're down to the legal section.
If the commission's ready, I'll begin reading the the legal report. I'll just start with case number 1, being 2017-061-831 and 2017-061-811. This complaint opened alleging that respondent entered into a contract for private investigation services and to provide requested information in order to enforce a court judgment. Complainant, a licensed realtor, indicated that some of the information that respondent provided was available to him prior to contracting. Complainant stated that respondent provided minimal information and would not provide any information unless contacted. Complainant stated that he last contacted respondent on August 10, 2017 via text message for an update on the status of the case. Complainant stated that he paid respondent $4,000 but did not provide any useful results. Respondent stated that complainant, after missing the first 2 meetings, hired him to conduct an asset search about 2 people. Respondent stated that through September 2017, the investigation was ongoing and the complainant was informed that the case could take 30 to 90 days to complete. Respondent stated that complainant provided first and last names and addresses. Respondent stated that additional leads were developed and discoveries were made. Respondent stated that multiple telephone calls were made between the parties. Respondent stated that after receiving the complaint, he reached out to complainant to address any outstanding issues. Respondent stated that complainant did not hire the company on an exclusive basis, there was not a time frame to be completed, and the agreement did not require updates to be provided throughout the investigation. Respondent indicated that several attempts to reach complainant went unanswered, a fact which complainant disputes. Respondent acknowledged that complainant was last contacted on August 10, 2017, but because there was no subsequent follow-up, there is no evidence of a concern. My recommendation is to issue a letter of warning regarding Tennessee Comprehensive Rules and Regulations 1175-04-.06 subpart 4, which is misconduct, and close. While there is little to no evidence which supports the amount of contact between respondent and complainant, neither party indicated that an itemized statement of services and expenses was provided, at the latest being after the August 10, 2017 communication.
Do I hear a motion?
Move that we accept council's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, let's call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Case number 2, 2017-063-461 and 2017-063-441. This complaint opened alleging that Respondent 1 was hired on a sensitive matter. Complainant states that Respondent 2, after receiving a $500 retainer, failed to return any multiple phone calls or texts. The complainant is seeking a refund. Respondent 2 stated that the complainant paid the $500, which entitles the complainant to 6.67 hours. Respondent 2 stated that on 6 different occasions, services were conducted and the female subject could not be confirmed. Respondent 2 stated that a written report was mailed to complainant on August 11, 2017. Respondent stated that since the mailing of the written report, there has been no communication with complainant. Respondent also indicated that the address listed on the complaint form by complainant was never provided. Complainant, in a rebuttal to Respondent's reply, stated that Respondent received the retainer but did not earn the money. Complainant states that subsequent investigators were hired after Respondent provided no results. Complainant stated that respondent had the correct address, but is using that information as an excuse for a lack of communication. Complainant then provided an unsigned copy of the contract with respondent, as well as a screenshot of text messages to the respondent. It appears that complainant did reach out to respondent on several occasions with no response. The contract indicates that respondent would provide complainant with verbal updates within 24 hours, written updates within 48 hours, and a written report within 10 days of a case completion. There is no evidence that respondent complied with this portion of the contract. My recommendation is to issue a letter of warning to respondent regarding Tennessee Comprehensive Rules and Regulations 1175-04-.06, subpart 4, being misconduct.
Do I hear a motion?
A motion to accept.
Ms. Brewer, please speak into the microphone.
I'll make that motion to accept the recommendation.
Doug Shanks seconds.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Case number 3 actually belongs to your new disciplinary counselor, Mr. Stuart Huffman. I'll let him go ahead and present his cases.
All right, number 3 is number 2017-072-891 and 207-072-841. This is related to 2017-063-461. Complainant alleges that respondent is having an affair with her husband. However, according to the respondent, the husband stated he was divorced, but she recently found out he was actually separated. Husband has asked, it says complainant, but should be respondent, to marry him, but has been abusive. Complainant continues to try to reach out to respondent 2, even though respondent 2 does not want to be communicated. The recommendation is to close.
I recommend we accept council's recommendations.
Seconded.
I'll second.
Okay, on the record, who's going to do the second? Mr. Rich?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve council. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 4.
Number 4 is actually my case. That is 2017-063-421. This complaint opened alleging that respondent is operating as a private investigator without a license. Complainant states that respondent assists people with recovering money, specifically through Tennessee Unclaimed Property Fund. Complainant states that the respondent enters into contracts with individuals and receives payment for services. Respondent states that the company acts as an asset recovery firm and has been approved as a locator by the Tennessee Unclaimed Property Division since 2011. Respondent states that it has used a licensed attorney located in West Tennessee to review, approve, and sign all locator contracts and/or claims with no question from the Tennessee Unclaimed Property Division. A contract was submitted with the complaint. The contract appears to be between respondent and the party seeking unclaimed property. Respondent company is paid a contingency upon the client receiving funds. There is a signature block for the named West Tennessee attorney. However, there is no indication that respondent company is working on behalf of that attorney. My recommendation is to authorize a formal hearing and send a consent order with a civil penalty in the amount of $500 for violation of Tennessee Code Annotated 62-26-204A, which is the unlicensed activity statute.
Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve the recommendation.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Number 5 is 2017-075-461. Complainant alleges unlicensed activity and harassment by respondent. Respondent was licensed at the time of his investigation of state and federal securities and criminal fraud, along with money laundering allegation against complainant. Investigation took place in 2013, mostly in West Virginia, but Tennessee and Kentucky had a reciprocal agreement allowing investigations to cross the state borders without the need for testing. Respondent admits that he did not handle any investigations in Tennessee except a brief period in 2015 in which he was licensed. Recommendation to the board is to close.
Do I hear a motion?
I move to accept the recommendation of council.
Second. Commissioner Brown.
Been moved and seconded. I'll have a roll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
We do have a couple of represents for the commission. The first is 2014-024-061. I will read the summary from the original presentation and then give the new information. The complaint alleged that respondent, a website that styled itself as America's premier resource for private investigator searches and lookups, was advertising that they were conducting background checks by using licensed private investigators. The website states they rely upon information secured by real licensed private investigators with access to information typically reserved for law enforcement. This complaint alleged that respondent was in violation of Tennessee Code annotated 62-26-202 and 204, both which prohibit acting as an investigations company without first obtaining a license from the commission. The investigation revealed that respondent had a current license in Virginia as well as one in Florida. Among other services, the respondent offered to obtain Tennessee vehicle registration information for a fee on its website. Although the investigator identified 6 Tennessee attorneys who appeared to have used the respondent's services, when contacted by the investigator, none of the attorneys could recall doing so. The previous recommendation was to authorize a formal hearing and send a consent order with a civil penalty in the amount of $1,000 for that unlicensed activity, which the commission concurred with. This particular matter was represented at one point, and it was going to be scheduled for a hearing. Subsequent to that, the Tennessee Division of Motor Vehicles began offering that service to Tennessee residents and non-residents. The new recommendation from the Disciplinary Council is to close this matter as it's allowed in the statute now, this particular activity.
Do I hear a motion?
I move to accept recommendation of council.
Second.
Okay. Go ahead.
Excuse me.
Second. Moved and seconded. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, and I think we have one more represent.
The last case is 2016-070531. This case arises out of a consumer complaint for unlicensed activity. Specifically, the complainant alleges that respondent posed as a licensed PI and questioned several of his employees. Respondent was the owner of a PI company. Both the individual's and company's licenses were revoked in 2013. Although complainant filed separate complaints against both respondent, one and his company, all the allegations in the complaint are against respondent, one as an individual, hereinafter respondent. Respondent is a former employee of complainant's bail bond business. Complainant terminated respondent's employment for cause on November 8, 2016. On November 21, 2016, respondent returned to the bail bond company claiming that he was planted as a double agent hired by a surety company with which complainant was engaged in a contractual dispute. The surety company stated that they hired respondent as a bail enforcement agent. The surety company then requested that respondent perform work for complainant to learn about complainant's business practices and outstanding forfeitures. The surety company also asked respondent to question complainant's employees regarding complainant's potential illegal activity. The surety company denies they hired respondent to be a licensed private investigator. The respondent claims that he never presented himself as a PI. The previous recommendation for 2016-070531 was a $500 civil penalty with formal charges authorized for violation of Section 62-6-204, Subpart 8, unlicensed activity. The recommendation for 2016-070571 was to close. The previous commission decision was concur. The update is the certified mailing of consent order has been mailed 3 times to 2 separate addresses. The first address was vacant and no mail receptacle. The second address was undeliverable. The surety company informed the department that the respondent is no longer employed or represented. The separation apparently was not amicable. Updated contact information on the respondent was requested from the surety company. However, that information is the same as what we have on file. The new recommendation is to flag and close.
Question? What is meant by flag?
If the respondent is to try to apply for a new license, then we would know about that, and he would have to come in front of the commission.
I understand. Thank you.
Additionally, it would reopen this complaint for the board's reconsideration for any further discipline. But it's closing it now because I believe Stewart indicated that the license is expired. So at this point, he can't practice as a private investigator. Should he decide to become licensed again, as Stewart said, he would have to answer this complaint and settle this before receiving that license.
Was he licensed when this activity took place?
He was not licensed. His license was revoked in 2013. This activity was in 2016.
So it sounds like it was unlicensed activity at that time, but we do have a license that we can flag should he decide to try to become licensed again.
Do I hear a motion?
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I think the bigger issue for Stewart was that we've tried multiple times to serve him and we couldn't locate him. So,
Commissioner Brown, I move that we accept the council's recommendations.
Doug Shanks seconds.
Moved and seconded. We'll call for a
All right,
vote.
Brown Shanks.
Doug
Mr. Brown
Shanks.
was first, you made the motion, and then Mr. Shanks second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I'm sorry, I have been remiss. I did not introduce your counsel. The gentleman, Huffman, this week. I'm just teasing Stuart. No, we're pleased to have Stuart working with Ashley. He will be presenting legal cases from now on. He will be also be doing the litigation if it's necessary. The legal has divided up. Ashley Thomas is the assistant general counsel, and she assists us mostly with our day-to-day operations, and everything else has been turned over to Stuart Huffman. And we'd like to say welcome, Stuart, to the commission.
Welcome. You have a
Welcome
great
aboard.
name.
And thank you,
Oh, I like
Ashley,
your
for
name,
being with us for this period.
Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the appearance.
Okay, I think we can probably go ahead, even though the gentleman's not here. His name is Kyle, K-Y-L-E. Last name is K-I-L-L-I-A-N. You have this on your legal pad. This gentleman, I believe, is in law enforcement. And we have had discussion before, and you told me you wanted to look at the applications for law enforcement. I'm also the director for the private protective services, and I do get law enforcement that comes in and wants to do their own companies, and they want to do this for private investigators as well. We always look at the law enforcement officer to see if he's worked in investigations. We are aware that law enforcement it is investigation, as is security, but not exactly investigations. So I brought this before you today, and he was supposed to appear. I'd like for you to take a few minutes if you haven't already looked at it. We had asked him to appear, but he's applied for a private investigator's license as well as a company. Right. What you're looking at is his experience. You'll see there that you do have the application. This is what the application looks like now as you go out online. Everyone is required to go online. He's filled this there's 2 applications that he's done online. Like I said, the private investigator and one for the company. So if you get past that, you'll see where he's giving you information where he was a police officer, and it's just an explanation of what a police officer does. I'll give you a few minutes to look at that. He also did include. It looked like he had his certifications in firearms, the training that he's had. He's interesting. His experience. He still has to take the exam. doesn't he? Remember, you're looking at the private investigator for the company, and I believe it states that he had to have 2,000 of compensated hours for the company, for the experience. So that's what you're looking at, is his experience. He's included in, looks like a booking sheet. That is not his, that is another individual. Took me a minute to look at that one too. But he's just showing, I guess, his writing skills, and his evidence.
Test and booking report.
There's an oral. They can get under this. I guess that's what he's going for, 1 year of applicable and related experience.
Chairman Valentine, I've got a question if I could. It's just, probably needs to be directed.
There,
Maybe I'm missing it, but where is he employed now? Is it Gallatin PD? I know that's where he was at one time, and it's Jacksonville SO. But I'm just not seeing where he was employed or where he is employed now. Am I missing?
Right on the first of his application, when you did the first sheet,
Yes, ma'am.
it does ask you for your mailing address. It asks you for your business address. He's in Sumner County. The name of the company is Risk Response Group, LLC.
But that's his company, isn't it?
Yes,
So he's not working for that company yet, since he doesn't have a license.
right, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
He was 4 years or 6 years with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Do we know what he did there?
That's
4
what
years.
No, sir, that's what he supplied to us.
This is why we asked him to appear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I sent him
so-
the letter, because I wasn't quite sure. I mean, he was a policeman. We appreciate that. And then he just gave you information where he arrested somebody, so you can see some of that.
And just for our new commission members, the statutory requirement as far as experience is to possess or employ at least one person who possesses at least 2,000 hours of compensated, verifiable investigative experience satisfactory to the commission, or has 1 year of applicable related experience or education in a related area of study approved by the commission. So I think that's why he submitted his application to you all, to see if maybe he fell under the 1 year of applicable related experience, because he doesn't have an employee who has the 2,000 hours of experience.
And to answer your question about where he works, on the other sheet it does say that he is self-employed. He is a self-employed consultant. He's in Gallatin. Worked for a company called Converse, Converse, out of
Boston, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
That was through
His
June,
employment
but
number
right
2.
now he's there.
Right. And then he does give you employment number 3.
That's on page 12.
Yeah.
On page 19, it shows that he was a detective.
Under his
Go
job,
to report.
his job description, I'm assuming this was a sergeant's grade. It states his job description.
What page are you on, Alan?
It's one of 2 from the city of Jacksonville. Gives example of his work experience, knowledge, and skill abilities. So he was employed 4 years there, so that would meet our credentials.
4 years is well in excess of 2,000.
If we're not able to make a decision, we can hold it, and I can tell him he needs to appear at the next board meeting. He did get a letter telling him to appear. Well, it was dated December the 20th of 2017. After reviewing your application, private investigators requested to appear before the Tennessee Private Investigation Polygraph Commission prior to approval of your application.
Yeah, that's on page 3.
So we did notify him. Don't have enough information, you want him to appear, I can send him another letter and just hold his applications.
So the question is, you all are wanting us to decide if the 4 years in Florida
Experience, yes, sir.
is enough experience.
If in there, I know it's enough experience, but is it in the right field? I was told to bring the law enforcement back so you can take a look at that, because not all law enforcement officers, from what I understand, do the same thing. So you're looking for somebody who can do investigations. I'm aware, I'm told all the time by law enforcement, I stop your car, I have to get your driver's license, go back to my car, and I have to do an investigation. That's not necessarily investigations for a private investigator, in my opinion. That's why I bring those to you.
Mr. Chairman, I like the idea that this letter dated December 20 from the commission to Mr. Killian requested Mr. Killian to appear. Mr. Killian is not here. This letter suggests requested to appear before the commission prior to approval of an application. And since Mr. Killian is not here, one would think we send him another letter and ask for his appearance.
Okay, can you put that in the form of a motion?
I move we held on approval of Mr. Killian's application pending his appearance before this commission.
Second.
I have a question, Madam Chairman.
Okay, that's what we need to do, Mr. Chairman. You need to accept the vote, and then we need to open it up for discussion.
Seconded.
By Ms. Brewer?
Ms. Brewer?
All right. And open for discussion now, Mr.
Yes.
Russo?
Mr. Russo.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Director, there is a time period for an application. Has he exceeded his time period for pending?
But that's December, and this is just January. No,
Okay.
sir, he has not.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
How much time does he have to
At 6 months.
6 months, okay.
I'm
So our next meeting is in March, and that would be 4 months. Okay.
So I think the discussion is to perhaps hold his application until our next meeting, send him another letter asking for an appearance, and we'll make whatever decision we need to make at the March meeting.
That was the motion, and second.
That is correct.
I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
We can do that. Now, we do have, we're going to have another appearance. The gentleman's come in whose last name is Leeth, Mr. Ernest Leith. Is that how you pronounce that, sir? You want to come up there and sit down there so you can talk to he's talking to the microphone instead of standing up there. This is just a little unusual. This gentleman has come in to appear before the board because he held a license for a private investigator that expired on 3/31/2015. I believe he moved to another state. He's come in to talk to you about making application again.
And this is not on the agenda, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's under appearances. You don't have it on your,
Okay.
there's nothing for you to read. No,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Your name again, sir?
Ernest Craig Leith, Leeth, Leith.
Okay, he wants to make application, if I'm doing this correct, saying this correctly, to be a private investigator again and to have his own company. He wants to open that. He has some extenuating circumstances he wants to talk to you about. For as his private investigator, you don't have to take the exam within 2 years of applying again. He expired on March the 31st, 2015, be 16, be 17, and say I'm already in 18. So he's past that time frame. So I'm going to give Mr. Leach,
I need to turn this on. Or
you just right there, talk right into it,
Hey,
sir.
okay. A little bit about me. I worked for Madison County Sheriff's Department in Huntsville, Alabama in the 80s. I left the Sheriff's Department as private investigator in Huntsville throughout the 80s and into the 90s. My first wife passed away in 1999. I married a few years later, moved to Tennessee. I got my private investigating license here in Tennessee. I was working for other companies, and we moved to South Mississippi in 2015. I obtained my license in South Mississippi for the 2 years we were down there. Moved back here. I got a hot shot rig as a truck out on the road, and I had a driver in it. I chose to drive it and to pay for my truck. My wife's got epilepsy, and she had a seizure a few weeks ago when I wasn't here, and I need to be at home. And I know this is unusual, but I need my private investigating license back. I would like to work for myself as a company and do the best I can in trying to make a living. I know we got rules and regulations, and it's unusual, and I wouldn't be asking this if it wasn't for a hardship about my wife and things of that nature. But I need to know the fastest way to get my private investigating license back and to get my business license so I can get a few jobs for myself. So that's all I'm asking.
So you're asking for an exception to the rules to get your
I guess
PI
so.
license now?
I guess that's what I'm doing.
I'm going to address this to a legal counsel and executive director. Do we have the authority to supersede the rule after the 2 years?
So it wouldn't necessarily be superseding the rule. So once his license is expired and he's out of grace, typically the law requires him to reapply, take the exam again, and prove everything again. I think the extent of your authority in this case would be to allow him to renew so that he may not have to take the exam again. But if you don't allow for that, I think that's about the only leeway you all could give him.
Chairman, I got a question. On any of the previous licenses that you've obtained and held in Mississippi, Tennessee, and I think North Carolina, was it?
No, it was Alabama.
Alabama,
Back
I'm sorry.
in the 80s and then through the 90s.
was any of the circumstances of unfavorable when you gave your license up?
No, sir. No, sir.
Have you ever been reprimanded or
Never.
from any of those boards of any of the three of those states?
Ever.
Ever had any complaints filed against you?
No, sir.
I got a question. You were licensed strictly as a PI previously in Tennessee, not as a company?
I'm sorry, what?
You were licensed previously as an investigator only and not as a company
Yes.
also?
Yes. I worked for a couple of different companies, and I
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me try to see if I can help just a little bit. What we're saying, I think we're saying is, his license expired in 15, and you have the authority to tell me I can renew his license. Personal license. But he's never held a company license for himself, so he would have to make application, do the fingerprints, the background, and he would have to take the exam. That is the statute.
Yeah, in 2 years that I was in Mississippi, I had the company license down there, so.
I'm gonna have to refer to legal counsel. I don't know if that would take the place of the Tennessee.
I think because he would be a new applicant for a company application, he has to go by the letter of the law. Like I said, I think the only leeway you all could give him would be on his personal PI license to maybe renew it instead of having to reapply.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow staff to allow Mr. Leith to renew his personal PI license.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and seconded.
Okay, can I, before we say that, sir, do you understand what they're saying?
Yeah, just for my private, and just for the private investigating license, not my company license.
Right, then you would need to find a private investigator company to put your license in for me to issue it.
What would I have to do to get my company license?
You're going to have to make application, pay the fee, do the background, and you will have to take a test. It will not be, I don't think it'd be very quick. I mean, you could schedule the exam today, but it might be next week, 2 weeks, or whatever, but yes, sir, it'll
These
take a while.
companies that I worked for when I was a private investigator before here in Tennessee, I imagine they're still in business. I know one's been wanting me back, but
Okay, I'm just telling you, if I do approve the private investigator license, I have to have him affiliated with a company in order to approve it. So you would have to find someone to put your license under until you took the exam for the private investigation company.
When you're Mississippi licensed, did you have continuing education hours?
I,
Right, sir, is this going to be any help to you to get your private investigator's license back, and you're going to find a company to put it with?
I guess.
And then take the exam, make the application online, and go ahead and take your company exam.
Well, I was hoping by having a company in Mississippi that I wouldn't have to do that, but
That's why he's here.
I think legal counsel will tell us that the company in Mississippi does not transfer to Tennessee. But
imaginary state lines, I guess.
Well, I'll give you an example. I was under not LLC when I first formed my business, and when I formed the LLC, I had to reapply again myself. So I didn't have to take the test; I'd already taken it, but I had to do the refiling. That's just what we require.
any further discussion?
Oh, if I'm understanding correctly, I'm hearing a motion is on the floor to reinstate Mr. Leith's personal PI license. I'm also hearing that the due process and legal process is somewhat constricted and prevents everything I think you're looking for this morning. But the Commission, I suspect, is not immune to the need to help you within the rules. And so I think that's why the motion is on the floor. which I would second, unless I think someone's already seconded it.
Well, if it wasn't for hardship with my wife having epilepsy, I wouldn't ask for nothing. I just, whatever I needed to do. But I've got a hardship case, and I've got to take care of me and my wife. So.
And I think the commission is sensitive to that quite. I also think that the path forward would be to find that company with whom you've worked before, let them know your license is renewed if it's approved, and it's time to move forward.
How long would I need to work for another company before I could obtain my business license?
You can apply for your business license now,
Okay.
and as soon as it comes through, then you can stop working for the other company and work for
There's
yourself.
no time limit that I need to. Okay.
Off the question, Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
on the motion.
We've heard the motion and second and discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
All right, so let me make sure I understand, sir. We're going to renew, allow you to renew your private investigator's license. I cannot issue it to you until you get me a letter of affiliation from a private investigation company. So it's going to be essential that you get with another company. And at any time between that, you can make application to be a private investigation company yourself.
Well, I'm pretty sure either one of the two that I've worked for, they've been wanting me back anyhow. So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Now you're going to hold on to my old
No,
license?
sir. I'm going to give this. Actually going to give this back to you. I'm going to need to contact you because there's some things I'm going to have to do.
Now, my address on there, if it's on there, I don't know where it's on there or not.
No,
Maybe
sir,
a
it's
different
not.
address.
How about give me your telephone number and I'll call you.
931-334.
So it's 931-334-3095. Because I'll need to give you some instruction. All right. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank y'all very much.
You're welcome.
That's all I have, Mr. Valentine, under appearances. You want to take maybe a 5-10 minute break?
Okay.
And then we'll come back. Thank you.
We'll take a 5-minute break. The commission back into order.
All right, I think the next thing on the agenda would probably be my administrative matters. If you have your iPads, you have the monthly reports. You should have September, October, November, and December. I'll flip over to yours because this has all the professions that we have. We'll get to the Private Investigation Commission. And Mr. Russo, we do appreciate your service. Even though you expired in 2014, we do appreciate you still on our commission. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course, now we do have Stuart Bain, whose term expires on 9/30/2021. Robin Brewer Johnston, hers also expires on 9/30/2021. And Mr. Douglas Shanks also expires on 9/30/2021.
Well, going by current experience with Mr. Rousseau, that 2021 appears in question, does it not?
It most certainly could. Yeah. These appointments are made by the governor's office, and we do appreciate you serving as long as necessary till you get your papers that thank you for your service from
I
actually
don't get
from
a
the
gold
governor.
watch.
I beg your pardon?
I don't get a gold watch. Or
Yeah, sure. Wait for that
Oh,
one.
I can give you something. I find an old piece of watch somewhere if you want one. Might not have a strap.
I got
All of them are going to say the same for those months. We didn't have anything under monthly reports that was different. It's all the same. So we'll move right into a different topic, is your budget review, and I need to talk to you about this. Okay, now all you have is July, August, September, October, and November. I don't have any December figures at all for you. If you will notice, you are in a negative of $9,215. It looks like we're taking an ebb there, which is something unusual for the PI program. In November, we were in a negative, August positive, September negative, October positive, November negative. We have anticipated it will take care of itself as it goes through the year. I'm not anticipating any problems. I will look at it real close when we hit that February, March totals to make sure we're going to be in a positive. You do know, for our new members, our fiscal year starts July the 1st and ends June the 30th. The commissions must, as they start over their new fiscal year, and we do it starting in July, you must be self-sufficient. There are some expenditures on there, Edison expenditures, that's our new computer system. You have some cost backs, but they look like they're all staying within the same range. Legal cost backs are staying within the same range, because I don't see anything that's standing out that's making this a negative. Investigations, we did a few more than the last month. And customer service, it looks like it's pretty even there. I think our big month for renewals for private investigators are right in like March and April. That's when we actually started the program years ago, so you're going to have more that is going to come in. But I will watch this for you, and if I do see the trend, I'll be talking with Bill Huddleston and watching this rather closely. We should be able to make up this negative $9,215 without a problem there. Just for the new board members, if we do not, we will have to go to the Hill and explain why we didn't. Or we may have to take a look at raising fees, which we talked about 3 or 4 years ago, but we started leveling off. And long as we're maintaining a balance, even though we might have a reserve, we don't use a reserve. We have to be able to maintain at all times from July to June. But I will help you with that. Okay, the next thing I believe we have is an application review for this individual. Under application review should be Exhibit A. You're going to see the same thing you did for this other gentleman. You have the application there. That's what it looks like now that they make it online. She's answering all these questions as well. She has some real estate experience here. She's making a company and a PI, right? She's same as the other gentleman. She's making an application to be a private investigator and a private investigation company. For your one. I was looking to see what page it was. It does tell you, it does have where she's, her employment. So that's what you were looking for before her employment. Her past employment is second place, the third, and the fourth. It says she was, I think it starts with page 8. You have the transcript from the University of Tennessee. You have some letters of recommendation that is also included. Where's her? See if you have anything on her for her individual exam. Right now, all I'm seeing is that she has passed a private investigation company exam. We don't find any computer with private investigator, but we'll contact her to find out if she has.
And she has the number of hours that are required?
That's what we're looking at, is her experience. According to the letters, of course, now she's got the transcript for you to look at as well.
So she's trying to go under the 1 year of education.
But she's gonna find. Looks like United States Department of Agriculture. It doesn't exactly tell me how long it's just a letter, to me, a letter of recommendation. She's highly recommended. They've known her since 1985. She's worked with the Finance Administration Department at the town of Oakland for 2 years. They recommended her, and she's passed the exam. The company.
You don't have 2,000 hours, 1 year of applicable related experience or education.
She's not applied for a PI license?
Yes, she's applying for both of them.
Oh, she has, okay.
But all I have on record is that she's passed the company exam. She may not have taken it yet, the individual, or might not have the report yet.
What's her investigative experience?
I didn't see any. I brought it to you because she has her education here.
She did.
She did pass it?
Yes.
Okay, we do have that she passed the private investigation exam, and she did pass the company exam. So what?
Where she went to the state.
No, but what is she? I was looking at the University of Tennessee so I could determine what her major, and it looks like her major is computer accounting technology.
And again, I think that this application, because she doesn't have the 2,000 hours of investigative experience, I think it appears that this particular applicant is going under the, or trying to go under the, has 1 year of applicable related experience or education in a related field of study approved by the commission.
Page 11 shows an official student transcript.
Right. Here she has
Quite extensive.
She has Baker University, a Bachelor of Business Administration. Might help you just a little bit here. She went to Southwest Technical Tennessee College. How come this thing doesn't move down? University of Tennessee Institute for Public Service. She's her personal experience, financial officer / recorder for the town of Oakland from April of 2013 to April of 2015. General administration and financial department. There's also a city administrator for the city of Galloway from January 2009 to November of 2012. Also an assistant broker.
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself from this one.
Okay.
Okay, then we need to ask you to step out in the hall, Mr. Brown, please.
I don't see under the University of Tennessee, the Municipal Technical Advisory Service, a bachelor's degree indication in there anywhere.
You look on page 11, Walt.
I see the transcript, but it doesn't show that she was awarded a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, MTAS courses, I think, are the short courses, seminar courses, half day, full day. I don't think they're baccalaureate related program courses. I don't know. Doesn't look like it.
Mr. Chairman, I will say the information Cody was reading from was from the applicant's resume, where she said that there was a bachelor's degree in, what was the major? Business administration. Business administration.
That qualify as education for the PI license?
And I think that's the question for the commission. It has to be approved by the commission as the related field of study.
Do you see anything that might, she was 20 years with the USDA, and the letters of recommendation suggest highly qualified, but I hadn't seen anything that says X investigative related work.
Exactly. I didn't see anything either.
I'm searching to try to make that connection.
Can we have her come here and speak with us?
Most certainly, Mr. Shanks, you can require her
I make
to
a
come in.
motion, I guess we hold this off until she makes appearance, and we can ask her questions about her investigative skills and knowledge.
Second.
Discussion. I had one question. You mentioned a bachelor's degree from Baker College or University? Yes. And that was in business administration. Okay. Any further discussion?
I believe the motion was to ask her to appear, hold off on her approval of her licenses, and ask her to appear at the next meeting.
Yes, that's the motion. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
All down here. Okay, the next thing I believe, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm jumping right in front of you. I'm
That's all
sorry.
right. Go
It's
right
the
ahead.
Education Committee, Education Review. The Education Committee met this morning, and first I'd like to tell you it's Alan, Larry, and David. We would like to have 2 more members on the committee.
I would volunteer.
To volunteer, okay. We have a volunteer for Stewart. Any other volunteer?
I'll volunteer also.
Mr. Valentine, Walt. Okay, that's going to give us 5 people on the committee from now on to review. Reviewed all the courses, and the committee that, like I said, there was 3 of them. They had voted all 3 courses or they had approved all 3 courses to be approved. I'd like to have that in a form of a motion, please, unless there's discussion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the committee's recommendation. Larry Flair.
Doug Shanks seconds.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
As far as unfinished business, I don't have any unfinished business there, Mr. Valentine. And right now, I don't have any new business. And I don't know of anybody who signed up. Mr. Russo may have a statement.
Chairman, I don't know if this is appropriate or, well, I don't think we've done this before, but as we all know that Dr. Rich, throughout the illness of his son and wife, was here for a long time, and he was very dedicated. He was very proud of the fact that he only missed about 2 or 3 meetings. And is it appropriate, is it within the rules for us to send a letter to him as the commission thanking him for his
He will get a
service?
plaque.
Okay.
We've already got together. We're going to have to contact Dr. Rich to make sure our years are the same. Minnie Lane also is to get her plaque. And there, I believe there's a couple others that we're trying to order the plaques for. Yes, and it will have a letter that accompanies it to telling them, thank them for their service.
Will we mail that to them, or will they be, could they come here?
If they can come here, we'll ask them to come here so we can present it, and the plaque, and get the photos also of them. We'd like to have that as public record as well. If they're not able to attend, of course, we would mail it to them.
Thank you.
Do we have any continuing education participation?
I'm aware of.
Okay.
Are we at that time? Yeah, we're at that time. Good. I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Doug Shanks seconds.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Good luck.
We closed.
We are adjourned. Whatever that means. Thank you for your service.